much better. Week 9. I am so proud of making it to week 9 because I didn't think I would. Last time I quit around week, I actually didn't get to do week 9's tasks because I think at some point I decided to give each week 2 weeks so that I can finish the tasks, but then I dropped the ball and it was a whole thing. Anyway, week 9 with the tasks done, except the reading the morning pages thing, I was gonna do it later today, but I kind of snuck a little reading morning pages throughout the week anyway. It's pretty interesting how my morning pages changed. I wrote a song in one of my morning pages, which was very interesting because I haven't written a song in a very long time, so that was very fun. It was very refreshing and felt like this is what I needed to do. I feel like when we're talking about U-turns and there's mentioning that, are you feeling that the morning pages are becoming to feel useless or you just don't want to do them? And yes, that's what I've been going through for the past week until I gave myself freedom to write whatever on my morning pages, like literally whatever, because I feel like subconsciously I gave myself the rule that I should write about my feelings, or I should write affirmations, or I should write plans or thoughts, but rarely do. But I didn't give myself the freedom to write like stuff to my novel or stuff like songs and stuff like that. So it was very, very liberating to see that I can write whatever, and I did allow myself to do that, and here we are. Looking here, you can see this is my image file that has become a full-on wall thing with a frame and everything. It's so beautiful, and looking at it all the time is making me feel already motivated, so I'm very happy. And I have a bunch of my favorite albums here and there. But yeah, it was an interesting week. Giving myself freedom to write whatever on my morning pages has allowed creativity to flow in. Because I'm a freedom-oriented, freedom-driven individual, I like to do things only when I feel free to do them. I know it's toxic, but we're aware of it. We're self-aware girlies. I'm aware that if you tell me to do something, I'm not gonna want to do it. But now I'm more open to, okay, you're telling me to do it, you have to explain to me why, and you have to convince me. And I do realize that there's sometimes a stubbornness in me where I'm like, no, I'm still gonna say no even if it's convincing. But no, I do want to be convinced. Convince me that it makes sense and I'll do it. And I feel like this should apply to democracy, honestly. In democracy, we are responsible to be knowledgeable and aware and informed. That's the price to democracy, in order for you to make the right choice that you see fit, and you get the freedom to do it. Therefore, when someone or anyone who's giving you any information or a task or something to do, your responsibility is to ask why. And from that, you need to be convinced. But in order for you to be convinced, you need to understand logic, common sense, and that's something that is your responsibility to do. And be aware that sometimes you don't want to be convinced. So I know when I'm told to do something, sometimes I can feel that I just don't want to be convinced. This is making sense, but I don't want to be convinced. And that's totally fine. Be aware of it, but be aware that you're acting based on stubbornness and not based on logic and common sense. And if the stakes were high, I don't know, like you're selecting a president or something, you need to know that you need to basically pick the most logical, beneficial choice and not act based out of emotion. So that applies to daily tasks up to larger scale politics. But again, that's my take. So the freedom to write whatever and do whatever with the morning pages has allowed me to explore a lot of things that are in my head and my creativity. And I wrote songs, and I I had like a plan, like a release plan, and I started looking. You don't have to release that one EP. Why don't you just give yourself the freedom to release whatever? Pick a song that you resonate with now. You don't have to write one. I have so many songs that I wrote. So pick a song that you resonate with now and release it. And this week has allowed me to do that. Maybe it was the compassion part. Because the creative U-turns, I resonate with those so much. And I'm pretty sure a lot of like modern day artists are resonating with it. Because after you go viral, you either drop the ball or continue. And if you drop the ball, this is out of fear, out of whatever, you kind of start feeling the pressure and the fear. And after you drop the ball, you kind of start feeling regret, but also you're afraid to do it. So it kind of like is a weird place. So I totally understand the fear and the U-turn, because I did go viral multiple times and on TikTok too, which is hard. But I started to understand the algorithm more. I started to understand that right now these days, when you go viral doesn't mean anything. You go viral, you get your 15 seconds of fame, and that's it. Not even 15 minutes, 15 seconds of fame. So, and also if you go viral for a certain topic, like comedy or just a meme or a dance video, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna go viral for music. And if you, let's say your song goes viral, which my first song that I released called Off, it did so well. That's another U-turn that I regretted, because I was like, it was doing well on social media, I was doing well with streams, it was doing well with everything. I could have continued off of that, but I just didn't. I was scared, or I started becoming obsessed with numbers, and I regret that, honestly. Yeah, and I regret not continuing YouTube, because I was really having fun on YouTube, especially with my best friends in university. We were having the best of times, and having bloopers and having to produce a song every week helped me improve my production skills. So I was actually improving on so many levels, until I graduated and it became a task, and I stopped enjoying it because I was doing it with my friends. So I kind of felt like, oh, well, I don't want to do it alone anymore. So these U-turns have affected how I saw myself as an artist, like evolving. Every U-turn, I didn't grieve it. I just blamed myself for it and continued on. And then I tried to mend it, but the book does say if you don't grieve what you did, you're not gonna process anything, and you're gonna keep repeating the same thing. So in one of my affirmations, I said to forgive yourself, and also learn that it's not the end of the world. It's fine. You went viral and didn't do anything about it. You can go viral again. It's okay. You might have learned something from that. It might not have been your time. There's so many things related to that you can forgive yourself, and that was the main task, is to forgive yourself and be compassionate with not taking a lot of opportunities. But I also can't be so mean with myself, because I'm from the Middle East, and we're always at war, and I graduated during the economic crisis in Lebanon, and the revolution was at the same time, and then COVID, and so there are external factors, and no excuse, but in a way it affected me mentally. I didn't even process that, and then I have to process grieving not doing a lot of things artistically. There is so much to process, and I feel like it makes sense to get here and do this. So this board helped with visualization. I put like daily things like being in the studio, being on tour, playing the piano, and all that. So I've been also playing the piano, which has been very fun, playing Erik Satie, which is one of my favorite composers. Regarding artist dates, I've been doing more artist dates within a week than I realized. Sometimes I just go for a drive and or sit at home and read intentionally. So with the intention that I'm hanging out with my artist self, that feels like an artist date. So I've been doing that a lot within the weeks. I did experience some synchronicities, and And sometimes they're in the negative way. And I need to talk about that. I did a sound gig for a theater, and there was this group playing music for children. And I walk in the room and I can feel that I'm being dismissed. I come in, I introduce myself, I'm the sound engineer, and the guitarist was like mean. Or not mean, he's just dismissive. He was just like, okay. So this loser just is like, oh, there's no sound. I'm like, did you turn the preamp on? So I turned the amps and there's nothing. But I assumed the preamp would be on because, like, you know you're plugged in there and you claim you know sound because you have all these equipment and you have your own sound system and all that. It didn't occur to you to turn on the preamp. I'm like, okay, I'll turn it on. Then noise everywhere, feedback, all kinds of stuff. And I'm looking at him. Your first instinct is to turn off your own board. That's the only thing that's plugged. You're not expecting me to turn off the preamp because it needs to be on in order for us to fix this. He's just looking at me. I'm like, you fix it. I'm like, okay. I guess I have to turn it off, run to the board, mute the board, then come back and turn it back on because you idiot don't believe for some reason that it's your board that's the problem. I do all that, and then I look at the board and I'm like, you're coming in way too hot, your signal is way too hot, lower the volume. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm telling you to lower the volume or your gain or whatever the noise that I'm receiving. He's like, lower the gain. I'm like, if I lower it more than that, there's no signal. You also need to lower. He's so adamant that it's not his fault. Okay, cool. That's great. I guess I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then he wants a sub, and then he starts explaining to me the difference between a passive and an active sub. And first of all, you don't need to explain it to me. That's mansplaining. And just because I'm a woman and I'm young doesn't mean that I don't know anything about that. And even if I don't, and even if I forgot, I don't need that lecture because we can't find anything to turn on the subs. I'm new here. This is not my stage. I didn't set up this. I don't know where the preamp to turn on the subs. So I'm gonna increase the low frequency because you're so adamant to have a bass for a kid's show. I don't even know why. But anyway, I'm like, okay. I didn't even have time to message the person who usually set these up to know where to turn anything on. They're just like, okay, I guess we'll use our own system. And then they completely ignore me. They talk to themselves. They don't tell me that they're using their own system. They talk to amongst themselves. And I asked the question multiple times, like, how are you going to know what your audience is hearing? 3 times I asked, and they no answer until the other musician, she answers me, she's like, yeah, we've done this before. We know what we're doing. I'm like, okay. I guess the sub was very important. You guys were causing feedback to my system and believe that it's not. As if I felt like I wasn't there. I felt like I was being ignored. I wasn't talked to. And overall, it triggered also an internal part of me of like, as a woman in the industry, you'd have to know everything and can't ask questions or can't not know anything. And all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not looked at professionally, you know? So it triggered a lot of that. It triggered a lot of trauma working in the industry in sound as a woman. And so I decided to just walk out. I'm not doing this for you. And because I respect the people who run the stage and they're a wonderful group of women, I told them that out of respect, I'm just gonna sit outside and let them do their thing. If they need any help with lights, I can do that. I did that, but the whole time I had my earphones on. I was listening to my own music and I was reading my book, so I was doing my own thing. The show is done, turn off everything. I'm trying to find my cables that he unplugged so I can turn things off and then they can do whatever they want. So, common sense. If you want to know where your cable is, you pull it a little or you move it to see a straight line and then you follow that. logic. I'm not gonna unplug anything. I'm not stupid. But this guy's like, you can't just be yanking things. I'm like, your precious setup is gonna be fine. I told him, I'm just looking for my cables. His response was more of, I'm acting like a child, or I don't know what I'm doing and I can't do that. I can do that. All I wanted to do is to pull the cables that I own, because they're not plugged to anything. I just wanted to move them so that there's no tangling anywhere with their stuff. But no, his precious setup and their precious system and their precious disrespect. So I'm like, whatever. I go home and I actually cry a little, because this reminds me of so many experiences that were unnecessary. And it reminds me of a lot of times that I beat myself over it. Even in that experience, I beat myself. Why didn't you talk back to him? Or why didn't you know how to turn on the subs? Or why didn't you know any of this? If I was a guy, this wouldn't have been a problem. I wouldn't have been treated this way. If I was older, I wouldn't have been treated this way. In the studios, people think I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know anything I'm talking about, but I do. And even if I don't, how am I supposed to know if I don't make the mistake? I don't understand the logic of being incredibly mean to the technician who has to know all these little things of like the brand of your stupid little board or your stupid little pedal, when it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just give me a signal and let me do the job right. There are so many things you can focus on at once. You can't know all of that. But I didn't know that growing up, and I didn't know that being first in the industry as a woman, because like, you don't know how to use this. No, I don't. And I was shamed for it, or like I beat myself down for it, for not talking back. I didn't know I was being disrespected. I just was confused on, why do you need to do that? Why do you need to be mean to somebody who has literally the power to make you sound good or bad? Like, there's absolutely no need. Anyway, long story short, this experience has reminded me to also be compassionate to myself during moments like this, during moments when I don't need to know everything. I'm growing and I'm learning, and I might be 70 years old doing this, and I probably would have made the same mistake. But maybe the one thing I could learn is to stand up for myself too. But I'm even beating myself too much over that, and I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. It was a reminder of the misogyny that exists everywhere, especially in this industry. So it was a good kind of result. It was bad synchronicity, but good result came out of it. And I'm lucky that it happened during this compassion week, so I can be nicer to myself regarding what happened, and this guy can fuck off. This was a rant, but that was my week. Any issues this week? Honestly, this week helped me be kinder to myself for the mistakes that I've done. I think that's what held me back from posting on social media and making videos and stuff. I think it's easier said than done to do things and not care who's watching and how many people are watching and the numbers and all that. And then it's easy also to get caught in the numbers once you have numbers, and then you sink back to the bottom. So it's a good week to look into it, because last week I was starting to ask myself why I don't want to post on social media. And I've got my answer, which is every time I do that, I feel bad about the results, and maybe not caring about the results is a good idea, given like sometimes I only get 3 views on YouTube and I don't care. I'm just posting. Who cares? But yeah, that was week 9. I'm excited for week 10 because I have no idea now what I'm seeing. Before that, I have some reference from the last time I did it. Now I don't. So this should be interesting. All right. I'll see you guys next week.